I'm your host, John Myers, live from Stillwater, Oklahoma. We have got a great show tonight. It's John Myers. Hey, everybody. Gotta have my notes. It's John Myers from the KICKER UnMasked studios. Gotta have my notes. Alternator. Hey, everybody. We have fun. Hey, everybody. Hit like and subscribe. Right here, right now. It's John Myers. We like to give stuff away. Alternator. Post some more pictures. We got to thank Steve and Becky live from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Don't forget Texas Roadhouse right here, right now. Hey, everybody. Don't forget right here, right now. We have got a great show tonight. Hey, everybody. Had a great dinner tonight. It's John Myers. Right here, right now. Had a great dinner tonight. So, hey, everybody. So, housekeeping. Had a great dinner tonight. So, alternator. Housekeeping. Housekeeping. So, Tuesday night. Housekeeping. From the KICKER UnMasked studios. Housekeeping. Right here, right now. Hey, everybody. So, it's John Myers. Hey, everybody. It's John Myers from the KICKER UnMasked studios. Hey, everybody. From the KICKER UnMasked studios. It's John Myers. Right here, right now. We have got a great show tonight. Hey, everybody. We have got a great show tonight. It's John Myers. Hey, everybody. Right here.
Good evening. It must be Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, YouTube, Facebook, X, because you're here and so are we. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This is Aaron Malin with the Kicker Tech Force, and I get to host the show again tonight. As you may recall in the last show, we were talking about the incredible capabilities of the new LX amplifiers. Well, tonight, we're going to go even deeper down the rabbit hole with some actual system design, setup, and tuning. We're going to show you the incredible capabilities of these amplifiers in real time. And of course, my co-host, Jacob Lucky, who's actually the brains of the outfit, he's going to do the actual work while I just sit here and talk and joke and make fun of him. But also tonight, we have JW back in the house. I should say we have JW, who's all muscular like this, in the house. And then we have Ernie, who is, other things, other qualities about Ernie. And we also have Colin, but Colin's not in the house, he's at the house. So he's working from home tonight. I don't know why, but as long as he gets the job done, who cares, right? Return to office, whatever. So I see we have a few folks hanging out with us. Larry Keller, good evening. So whose voice is the 8 octaves higher housekeeping? That's Ernie. He had a procedure done and then recorded some stuff for us in his high octave voice. I did see that Bobby Burkett, you checked in at 7:30, dude. What is going on? Kind of late tonight. I hope you're okay. I know there's some crud going around. That's why Bambro is not here tonight. He's not feeling good, so he went home. So you get the rest of us here at the house. Clint Black, -1 Fahrenheit here. It is pretty darn cold here too today. I think it was 2 degrees when I left the house to get coffee this morning. Speaking of leaving the house, did you notice my prop sitting here in front of me? So my lovely wife was doing some baking yesterday, and she sent in cookies and granola, homemade, to the UnMasked crew. Ernie, can you zoom in on this? Can you zoom? She even put a label on it. There we go. If you carry, there you go. For the Unmasked crew. So that was dessert tonight. Thank you, honey. I love you, and I appreciate you doing this for us. And I will be home later, I promise. So without further ado, not sure what ado is, but it sounds great when you put it together. Without further, we're going to bring in Jacob Lucky. So hang on for 1 minute. We're going to do a quick commercial, and we'll be right back.
It's been a long road since the original Kicker christened that first pickup truck. It kicked off a car audio renaissance, and upgrading your music in a vehicle was a requirement. America's music machines became living loud over your passion, your emotion, your existence. Outdoors or on the open road, your sound is Kicker.
KICKER Performance Audio. For almost 50 years, we've been rocking the planet with our world-class product covering everything that drives you, whether in your car, truck, boat, motorcycle, side-by-side, or even on your head. KICKER Performance Audio's passion for bringing you your favorite music like you've never heard it before is what drives us. So wherever you need us, KICKER Performance Audio will be there for you.
Welcome back. Look who we have here.
I'm here.
The fantastic Jacob Lucky. And Jacob has been hitting the gym, just want you to know that. He's now consuming 1,500 calories at a sitting, and so he finished off all the cookies tonight.
If you see Aaron slowly scooting away from me later, it's because of the high-protein diet I'm on, so just, keep that in mind as we go throughout the show. But
commercial lined up, ready to go, Ernie. So, oh my Lord. So, all of us. Ernie's chatting back there. So we've got a couple things to talk about before we jump into the amplifiers, because Jacob's been working on a couple of projects, and I wanted to tell you about one of the projects. Jacob, what's that project you worked on this week?
Last week? I worked on a 2006 Ford F-250, and this was kind of an interesting truck because it had a kicker install from back in the day. It had a ZX 705 and one of the original Comp VT 10-inch boxes behind the seat, and the original KS speakers in the front and rear doors. And it also had an older Pioneer double-din touchscreen radio, which I thought was kind of cool, because it had all of the separate modules on it for it had a separate Bluetooth module you had to plug into the back. It had a big adapter that you had to use for the 32-pin iPod. And there was just the dash. For those of you guys that have worked on those trucks, you know how much space is inside of the dash behind the radio. That truck was just packed full of wires with modules and this and that. So I tore all that out, put a new Pioneer radio in, and one of the things that I ran into, I put new KS speakers in it, a Key 200.4 and a CX 1200.1. And I was going to try and put two of the Comp RT 12-inch loaded enclosures behind the seat, because it looked like it would fit when I was testing an empty box from warranty. And when I got the subwoofer in there, the surround ended up touching the backside of the seat.
Bad.
And so when it played, it would rub up against the fabric and either wear a hole in the speaker or the back of the seat. And on the other side of the cab, there was a motor on the back for the power rear window.
Yeah.
Yep. So I couldn't get those enclosures to fit, and we're going to end up having to do a 10-inch Comp RT loaded enclosure and tune the amplifier down, since it makes way more power than that enclosure is rated for.
Talk about that just a second. Tuning that amp down, please.
Sure. So that amplifier is rated for 1,200 watts RMS, but if you set the gain properly, you can lower the output of the amplifier. It doesn't have to make 1,200 watts RMS. You can set it for maybe 800 watts RMS, which is a little more than what that subwoofer wants, but I like to have a little bit more clean power on my subwoofer than what we say it can handle. So if you're safe with it, they can take it all day long. So
if you're wondering how to do that, we just shot a video on that recently. It's on KICKER, it's on our Facebook, and we're simply using the voltage chart, which is available on our website, and you just use AC on your meter set to AC, the output of the amplifier with the meter and a test tone, and you can properly gain the amplifier for whatever subwoofer you've got. So it's a great thing to do, especially if you might be adding more subs later on. Buy the amp today, buy the power wire today, buy the distribution block today, and then add more subs later. You've already got the power. So thanks for telling that story. Something else I wanted to show you is, you may have seen this video on our Facebook, I think it was yesterday. We had a guest. Ernie, can you pull this up real quick? We had a guest stop by, Rick from Meridian Technologies. Meridian Technologies is a tech center here in Stillwater, and they teach automotive courses, culinary courses, hair, nails, business classes, entrepreneur, all this kind of stuff. But Rick is part of the Skills USA family, and so he and his students are building 2 complete sets of the rigs that Jacob designed and built with help from John Myers. 2 of the subwoofer rigs, which I'll show you one here. Oh, you can see it there in the picture. They're building 2 of the subwoofer rigs and then 2 of the amplifier training rigs, because we're going to use those for the contest here coming up in a few months. And so Rick stopped by. Rick is a great dude. Side note, he actually has a side hustle. He cleans the carpets here at Kicker as well.
Yeah,
so when he's not teaching automotive students, he's cleaning our carpets, so he's a busy dude. But I wanted to give him a shout out. Rick, hopefully you're watching tonight. You did a great job in that video. I know you're not happy about it, but you know what? So what? It was good. So that's
okay,
what's been
Rick.
going on.
I'm never happy on video, so I totally understand.
This guy is so good at it, he just doesn't believe us. So, okay, let's get some more of that to do, and let's jump into the next section of LX amplifier setup and tuning. So what's the first scenario we're going to go through?
Hang on. Does anybody know what ado is? and
Do
why,
the do.
And why there's no further ado?
I've got a whole pile of ado right here.
You're picking up, I guess John's jokes are rubbing off on you a little bit, so. What were we going to talk about?
John, we love you. First, we're going to do a 3-way fully active system with
That's right.
subwoofer.
Cool. So hopefully today I don't short circuit on talking about crossovers, but you know. So our first system that we're going to set up is going to be a 3-way active front stage. And what a 3-way front stage is where you have 3 different drivers that each kind of handle their own range of frequencies. So in this case, we're going to be using a 1-inch tweeter. We're going to have a 2 3/4-inch speaker in the dash, and we're also going to have a 6.5-inch speaker in the doors. Aaron, what are some advantages of having a 3-way system?
So one of the things that I love the best about it is now most of your vocal range is not coming from your doors. It's essentially your mid bass. So that means now your vocals are up high on the dash where your ears are located, if you hadn't noticed that, up high on the dash. So it gives you a much better sound stage up here instead of down at the doors. In addition, because each speaker has its own frequency band, it is operating within its band for much cleaner output, higher capabilities, higher sound quality as well as higher output capabilities, overall just a better sounding system. So a 3-way component system is the way to go, and we can do fully active with the LX amplifiers.
That's right. So I also like to do a 3-way system because you can add time delay to all the speakers individually, and that's going to get you just a really nice, crisp front stage audio system. But we're going to go ahead and walk through setting that up here really quick. So I'm going to come around to the front side of the table, and we're going to show you guys what the front of the amplifier with the control center here.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm sorry, Jacob. We forgot to talk about finding the proper signal to start with.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Let's do that first.
Let's backtrack just a little bit. So.
And this.
Oh, God.
Can you move those drivers?
Sure.
We've got the, anybody seen Pulp Fiction? This is not the briefcase.
Okay.
But we do want to show you what is in the briefcase.
So this actually kind of goes hand in hand with finding the correct signal in a way. But this is some really old RTA, I think from the 80s, that John found and left at my desk, basically left me a little present. And it's kind of neat because, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are going to remember this, but back in the day, these were used in IASCA competitions. And this particular computer actually still has the IASCA scoring program built into it and programmed into the module. So me being me, I turned it on and went through the functions and everything and made myself a little like a competitor entry and printed myself off like a score sheet. And as soon as I did that, I toasted a resistor inside of this thing and the smoke came out of it. So somebody's gonna have to fix the electronics, but it's a neat little piece of car stereo history. And also inside the box, there was a note from the repair guy that said something to the tune of like, this is the third time this has been sent back for toasted inputs, and if you don't stop doing this, then it may not be reparable the next time. So anyway, I thought some of you guys might get a kick out of that.
Neat history.
And of course, it's old enough now that the foam is degassing and like falling apart. So El Fuego says, I still have my 1991 Iasca competitor rulebook. That's super cool, man. Ernie left me a pile of old 90s Iasca and sound quality stuff on my desk, like manuals and judge books and things like that. And, you know, maybe one day we'll break those out and get them on the show, too, and talk about them a little bit.
They can play Oregon Trail. Damn, you're old, dude. Okay, so let's talk about usable signal.
Sure.
So when we start working with premium automobiles that have three-way component systems, active subwoofers, some channels are active, some channels are passive, we need to figure out where in the car can we find a usable signal to put into our amplifier. And this is where we start with an RTA. Not something quite that old, but a more modern RTA, which are available all over Amazon, and even Harbor Freight sells RTAs at this point.
You can even get apps on your phone for it.
Absolutely.
And make a little handheld RTA to work with it using a line output converter.
So we can use these to probe the factory amplified system, looking for a signal that we can use for our system. Now, side note, you can also use a KLOC as a basic RTA to probe the signals. When you're using the KLOC, there are three bands that light up here. Here, look at these. You've got high, mid, and low, which is LED 3, 2, and 1. So when you are using this, powered of course, and you're probing the factory amp, it'll actually light up which band of frequencies you have available. If all three light up, you've got a full range signal, so that's probably usable signal. But what this won't do is show you if there is a factory time delay, all pass filters, or equalization. That's why you need the RTA. So you want to be sure you're putting a clean, flat signal into the amplifier before you start adding the rest of your components. And that's where these come in. What does this do for us, Jacob?
So that will eliminate any time delay present between the left and right channels. It eliminates the up to 3 independent all-pass filters between left and right channels, and it completely flattens the frequency response on both the left and right channels and level matches them and all that good stuff. So it gives you as close to a flat signal, or it gives you a flat signal, but as close to like an aftermarket radio signal as you can get without actually having an aftermarket radio. A couple cool things about it: if you like the staging and imaging of your car, but you just want to fix the equalization, you can access the menu in there and defeat the all-pass and time delay correction. So you can actually retain a lot of the factory functions if you want to. But I think the biggest reason why that's important is, sometimes we put aftermarket speakers in a car and just hook it up to the factory signal or amplify it, and it doesn't sound great because the factory EQ curve is designed for those factory speakers.
Like that Impala you worked on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a mess. In any case,
real quick, sorry, I want to interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
In case you're not familiar with the all-pass filters, real quick, what's an all-pass filter do?
It reverses the polarity or reverses the phase at like one particular frequency, and then you can change the bandwidth of it too, to like how wide you want it to be. But essentially, like on one side it'll be reversed at 500 hertz versus the other side, so you can get a cancellation in your sound if you're trying to time delay and make them sound equidistant. But what it does is it kind of creates like a two-seat tune in a OEM vehicle. So they have their place, but you only want to be using like either all-pass or time delay unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah.
And you also may need more than one of these. That Bose system and that Chevy Sierra pickup truck, we actually were using one for dash, right? One for the dash, one for the front doors, one for the factory sub.
For the rears and one for the factory
and
sub.
the rear.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're using 5 of these in that system. So you may need more than one. So so that's what that's for. And then let's talk real quick about KISS load. What's that for?
So really quick, the KISS load keeps your factory radio turned on if your factory radio needs to see a load on its outputs. So a lot of times if you disconnect a factory speaker, especially in newer cars, the radio will just quit playing sound. Some cars, it causes the radio to clip at a low volume versus where it normally would. It's kind of like a fault protection in those radios. The KISS load is 25 ohm load resistors inside of a heatsink that makes that radio think that the speakers are still hooked up. So it may be necessary, it may not. Just depends on your vehicle. But
comes in a 2 and a 4 channel version.
Yes.
2 channel typically for subwoofers, 4 channel typically for your interior speakers. You may need one, some, or both of these, depending on your system. So, okay, let's move past that and get into what's next.
oh, Aaron, your mic is not on your shirt.
Oh! Sorry, guys. So you heard blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah.
It's live, guys.
My wife hears too. So. Okay, I'm back.
Perfect. So hopefully you guys might have picked him up still through like my microphone or something. I don't know, but anyway. So we're gonna say and assume that we have, just for the purposes of setting up the amplifier, we're gonna say we have like a full range signal coming into it, and have our inputs set so that we're having the same output, or using that set of inputs for all of the outputs. So now we're going to get into tuning this amplifier for a 3-way system. And as we touched on before, 3-way system has 3 separate drivers, and that pretty much just allows them to do their job better individually. But we're going to come around here, and I'm going to start walking you guys through how we want to set this thing up.
Where are you going to start? What speaker?
So I always start with my tweeters when I'm tuning a system, personally. And in this case, we're going to use amp 3 for our tweeters. So I know it's a little bit weird, but we're going to use amp 3 for our tweeters because it's the lower powered 2 channels on the amplifier. So we're going to come over here and we're going to press this knob and navigate over to amp 3. And then we're going to set our high pass filter to about 3,500 hertz.
I'm going to reference our sheet here real quick. On KICKER.com, under the tech support tab, we have a KICKER's recommended high-pass crossover points by speaker size. Great title, right, Jeremy? Thanks. But what this does is it tells us that a 1-inch tweeter has a recommended high-pass filter of 3,500 hertz at 12 dB per octave.
That's right. So we are going to go with the 24 dB per octave in this system, just because I think 24 dB per octave sounds better, and it's like neutral in terms of phase. If there are a couple situations where you might choose like a lower slope crossover, for instance, if you wanted that tweeter to play a little bit lower and not roll off as steeply, then you could choose a 12 dB per octave slope. But I always just go with a Linkwitz-Riley 24 dB per octave to start with, and then I can mess around with it from there. But you do have the choice between a Linkwitz-Riley and Butterworth with this amplifier. And with the Butterworth, you can choose between 12, 18, and 24 dB per octave. So you've got a lot of adjustability, a lot of different options with this amplifier. So boom, just like that, the crossovers are set on our tweeters. So now I'm going to navigate over to amp 1, and I'm going to use this for the 2 3/4 inch speakers in the dash. So we're going to set the low pass filter to 3,500, which is where that tweeter starts to roll off. And then we're going to set our high pass to about like 500 hertz. Because I don't want that speaker to overextend, I don't want it to play too low, but I want it to get plenty of the vocals coming from it as well. So all of that sound stage is going to be lifted up above the dash. And next I'm going to go to our 6 3/4. I'm going to use amp 2, and I'm going to set the low pass at 500 where the 2 3/4 leaves off. And a cool thing about this when you're adjusting the crossovers, guys, is you can actually hear, if you're playing music, you can hear as that crossover point adjusts. So if you're trying to listen to it and figure out where you need to have it for like a particular speaker or for the tune you're going for, then you can. And then I'm going to set my my high pass at about 80 hertz.
Now, one thing we did not mention, do not hook up the speakers yet because we haven't actually dialed in the gains.
Right.
So at this point, no speakers are connected. We're simply setting it up in the LXCC. Then we're going to set the gains. Then we'll attach the speakers.
Mm-hmm. So we have amp 3 set to a high pass filter, and the controller will tell you that for the tweeters. We have amp 1 set to band pass for the 2 3/4, and we have amp 2 set to band pass for the 6 3/4. So now I'm going to come to my subwoofer, and I'm going to set my low pass, and this is a personal thing for me. I like my low pass to be at about 60 hertz instead of at 80 where my mid ranges are rolling off. I think if I set my low pass much higher than that, it's picking up almost too much of that higher frequency information. I like my subwoofers to just play the super, super low bass. And then your high pass, which is what you guys are going to know as your subsonic filter on other amplifiers, you can set that in a couple different places depending on like the enclosure you're using. If you have a ported enclosure, I set it a half octave below the tuning frequencies so your subwoofer doesn't overextend while it's playing. In this case, I'm just going to set it to like 25 hertz. Let's say we have a sealed box and we just don't want it to overextend at ultra low frequencies. So all of our crossover points are set here. Now, what we want to do next, set our gains for each channel depending on the bandwidth of the speakers that you're using. So for your tweeters, you'd probably want to play crossovers at 3500. I mean, you could play like a 35 or 4000 hertz test tone and turn this dial up until it starts to illuminate. Or I guess it'd be this dial since our tweeters are on amp 3. And then do the same thing for your 2 3/4 and your 6 1/2 and your subwoofer. So all of the gain dials do have clip indicators behind them. So super easy way to set your gain without needing a multimeter. So now that our crossovers are all set, we can go into the more advanced functions if we want to. We can go into set time delay for each of the speakers. And
gain trim?
Gain trim, yeah, so lots of different things. But so let's say that our tweeters are a little bit hot for us, right? So we're going to navigate to our tweeters on amp 3. And now our tweeters, we can turn those down specifically, down up to 9 dB. But let's say it's only a little bit hot, so we want to turn it down 2 dB, and that's going to bring them in line with the rest of the system. And lastly, your time delay, you can set that individually on just the left speaker for your audio system. So there are a couple different ways that we like to recommend to do this. You can use your tape measure, and we found this cool website that does the time delay calculations for you. So all you need to do is check the weather app and find out your temperature and humidity and enter that into the system because it actually does affect how you set your time delay.
Ernie, can you turn on my laptop real quick?
Yeah, so let's show them what we're working with here really quick. But you're going to measure the distance from you to all of your speakers and then plug it into this spreadsheet, I guess is what you'd call it. It looks like our feed is glitched there.
Ernie, are we still, we're going out?
Oh. Let's try it again.
So we're live. Okay, can you go back to the laptop? Okay. Okay, so it doesn't want to switch over there.
Anyway, we can tell them what the website is, I suppose.
AaronsAudiocorner.com.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the show notes.
It's Aaron, E-R-I-N. There we go. It's working now.
Yeah, there.
So you can punch in whether it's a 3-way or a 2-way. Use your tape measure and punch in all your measurements from you to each of your speakers and add that in there, and then you can hit calculate. And this will come up with the time delay values for all the speakers in your car. So it does the hard part for you, and you can enter that into your DSP or your Pioneer radio if it has that capability. The other way you can do it, which will require an extra piece on your part, is you can plug the remote control, or the LXCC, into an extension cable using, where's my coupler here?
Right
there it is. So we found these couplers, and it's just an extender basically, or a coupler for the cable that these use. And you can run that all the way to your front seat and set the time delay by ear using the control center while you're sitting in the front seat. So you can actually hear it and track it and see where that stage lands, whether it's in the center of the dash or you need to shift it one direction or the other. That would probably be the quickest way for the guys in the field to do it, is just do it by ear and match up all the different channels. But there you have it. We have our system set, and then if you want to do some more fine tweaking, we can navigate to the subwoofer channel here. And you've got a couple different options on your sub channel. You can also do a gain trim there, which is your fine adjustment, but the cool thing I want to show you guys is the Kick EQ. So this is, Kick EQ Plus, and this is essentially an adjustable bass boost. So you can boost it, I think it's up to 6 dB.
Yeah, 6.
So we don't want you guys to turn it up way too high and destroy the subwoofers. But then you can also change your center frequency, depending on what you want to draw out of your music. And then you can also change the bandwidth, or you guys might know this as the Q, from 1 up to 5. So you get quite a bit of adjustability on this guy. And then, of course, once you're done tuning it, you're going to unplug the control center, and then you're going to plug in your bass knob. And now you have access to a voltage meter. It tells you kind of the voltage at the battery. It's kind of hard to see there on the screen, but those LEDs will illuminate and let you guys know what the voltage is. And then if you just turn the knob, it adjusts your bass level. If you push it, you have access to Shock 2.0, which synthesizes bass from tracks that don't have any bass, and it's a better method than the original Shock. We've updated the algorithm, and also you can change the color of the bass knob to match the color of the amplifier. So it's also kind of hard to see there, but it's the same shade of purple as the amplifier is right now.
What would Kyle Clippo Rutherford love about that bass knob?
I don't know.
The clip indicator.
Oh yeah, the clip. Obvious, yeah, duh.
It's a Kyle Clippo Rutherford clip indicator. So yes, it does have an output clip indicator, and if that starts lighting up, you're about to toast a voice coil, so back it off a little bit.
So there's another thing another system that we want to show you guys.
Yes.
That is super cool, and we're actually going to give you like a audible demonstration of how this would work. But this is going to be a two-way front stage with rear fill speakers. Sorry, I'm kind of out of the shot, and I didn't realize. But rear fill is one way for our shops to sell more speakers, but it also adds like ambience to the sound system. So you've got your front stage, all the important information's coming from in front of you, and then rear fill is just going to add the ambience in the back of like your auditorium, as if you were listening to music. So you can hear the sound like echo off the back of the auditorium. And I sounded like Porky Pig for a second there. But anyway, it's a really cool feature. So yeah, right. So I'm going to go and reset the amplifier. We can start from scratch, and I'm just going to kind of talk you guys through it as I run through it.
In this example, we're using a coax for the rear fill, and we're going to do that just because it's full range. I don't put any rear speakers in my builds. But if you want a full range sound in the back, there's no need to spend the money on a woof and tweeter. Of course, we'd like to sell you more speakers, but a coax is a great way to do the rear fill that he's about to show you.
Okay, so in this case, we're going to put our tweeters again on amp 3, since it's the lower powered channel. So I'm going to come here and set my high pass to 5K, or 3,500 I think was our recommended.
Yep, 35,
right?
Yes sir.
So our tweeters set to 5K, Linkwitz-Riley. We're going to set our 6 3/4 in the front on amp 1, and those are going to be at 80 Hertz high pass and 3,500 low pass. Still getting used to how the knobs work. There we go. And then we're going to set our rear 6 3/4 on amp 2. And let me make sure that this is plugged into amp 2 here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is leave this full range since it's a coax, but then we're going to come in here and we're going to push channel mode and change it to left minus right. And that's going to take all of the front stage information essentially and remove it, and then you're left with everything that is just kind of like the ambience of the system. All the common information is gone, and then the ambience is left. So I'll go ahead and I'll play a track for you guys, and I'll flip it back and forth between mono left plus right and mono left minus right, so you guys can actually hear the difference.
Ernie, microphone 3, please.
And if anybody can guess the track that I'm playing without using Shazam, then
Shazam what?
Shazam, yeah, we might send you a pair of earbuds or something. So I'll leave that up to Colin. I'm giving you another job, Colin. But all right, let's go. I think I put that on the wrong channel.
It's live TV, folks.
It is live. That's our tweeter.
Where they said that I could find it, there were rhythms in the distance.
What did I do?
So,
Let me figure this out.
yeah. So a little more.
I'll get back to you.
So we were testing this just before dinner, actually.
Well, yeah, and I did it the way that we didn't test it. So that's what's fun about this is I change things around and then they don't work.
So what Jacob is going to demonstrate is when you take left minus right, I think they used to call it the Hafler effect in the old days. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but basically you're taking whatever is common, center, and you're removing it. So only the extreme left and the extreme right information is left. And as Jacob said, this is kind of like what would be bouncing off the back of the concert hall. So it's just the ambiance. And by the way, when you do this, you're probably going to want to drop the level maybe as much as 10 dB because you don't want the sound stage to be drawn back behind you. You want it in the front with just a little sensing of the music behind you. So you want to drop that level down.
Okay.
Is it dialed in?
I think I got it fixed. I had it set to one of the bandpass channels, so it sounded like, yeah. Anyway, let's try this again. There we go. That sounds right.
So this is normal, correct?
Yep. So this is mono left plus right. You guys can hear all the information. This is mono left minus right. Did you guys hear how her voice just pulled out? And all you hear is the echoes. The bass guitar is gone. The drums are gone for the most part. Let's go back to left plus right.
In the valley, they said that I could find it. There were rhythms in the distance, in the ancient elder forest. That is why
Oh, we should probably take some. We should take some questions when we're done with this demo.
So now notice left minus right still has the background singers. Super cool feature.
So the other part of this is rather than rear fill, if you had a center channel and you wanted to have left, center, and right, you could take those two lower powered channels, bridge them to mono, and run a center mono channel, and then blend it with the gain trim so you get your proper staging. So that's another beauty of this amplifier is the complete flexibility in being able to do a fully active three-way system, a two-way active system with the rear fill like we just showed you, or a two-way active system with a dedicated center channel. Lots of flexibility built in, and of course the subwoofer section as well.
We have a question from Phi Mobile Sounds. How are those channels labeled on the amp and how easy is it to read? So good question, and I'll tell you. So on the amplifier, they're labeled amp 1, amp 2, amp 3, and sub. And in the control center, they're labeled exactly the same way. So as you cycle through here, if I can find the button, it'll say amp 3, amp 1, amp 2, and subwoofer. So that corresponds the same way to how they're labeled on the amplifier and the inputs as well. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward how they're labeled. They're not labeled like front, rear, mid, anything like that, because we know that you guys are going to use them for a lot of different applications. Damon Richmond asks, will the 1205 power an L7? Sure will. That'd
Yes.
be plenty of power for an L7 at 2 ohms, absolutely.
700 watts RMS at 1 ohm, 600 watts RMS at 2 ohms. So there's plenty of power, and that's RMS. That's not the dynamic. That's
Right.
the real power. So there's a ton of power in that sub channel.
Okay, let's see if we have any more. So does the controller stay connected at all times, or do you disconnect and shove it in the glove box?
Shove it.
Yeah, great question, Stuart. So once you're done tuning the audio system, you're going to unplug that controller and do whatever you want with it. I suggest keeping it in case you want to change something on the amplifier at a later date, but your memory is in the amplifier for your tune. So once you disconnect the controller, the amp is not going to forget what you guys have plugged into it. And so it's really good for shops, because if you guys install this amplifier and you don't want your customer to be messing around with the crossover settings or anything like that, you can unplug the controller and keep it and send it out the door, and your customer likely won't even know there are any adjustments on the amplifier at all.
Also, side note, when you unplug the RJ45 connector, you have to plug in the bass knob, so it uses the same port.
Yep.
So you're going to want to plug in the bass knob anyway. So there you go. Great question. Next up.
Jeremy says, if you have this amp, would it still be a good idea to get a key amplifier?
Oh, I love this question.
It's a great question, Jeremy. I don't think that a key amplifier would be necessary with this amplifier, because you have access to most of the capabilities with the key in this amplifier. A couple of them you don't have access to, like the compressor and the equalization adjustment. But this amp will do time delay. This amp sets its own crossovers. You could use them together if you want to do the equalization correction from the key. But it's not necessary. This amp does so much on its own that you'd probably be fine with just one of these guys.
I want to take an opposing view, because personally, I am not nearly as good at tuning cars as Jacob and Ernie. And so I cannot do the kind of tune that a key amp can do. So I personally would use the key amp for the tuning, and then I would run it straight through and have a lot more power on tap using the LX amplifier. Because you could use the 4-channel LX amplifier and use it just as with the 4-channel from the key 204, or you could use the 5-channel if you wanted to do a fully active system and rear fill or center. So I have to disagree respectfully that I would still use the key 204 myself.
That's fine. That's why we have so many different products.
That's right. Good question.
Damon says, to be clear, run my highs and mids and power a 15-inch L7. Damon, you could do that, but with a 15, I think it would want a little bit more power. But just to give you some perspective, it takes a doubling in power output to get a 3 dB difference in volume. If nothing else in the system changes and you're only changing the power going to the speaker, you'll get a 3 decibel difference. So going from, say, 600 watts RMS to 1200 watts RMS is only going to be a 3 decibel difference, which is like 1 click on your phone volume's difference. So it's not as big of a difference as you think it is. You could still do that, but that subwoofer could use more power and you could get more out of it.
Great question. Next question.
Stuart says, so why do we have different power levels between amps 1 through 4? So amps 1 and amp 2 have the same power level. Amp 3 has a lower power level, so you can use that, say, bridged to, not bridged to a tweeter. Where did that 2 3/4 go?
To your center channel?
Anyway, you can bridge it to a center channel and you're not going to blow that 2 3/4 inch speaker. You can use it for your tweeters because your tweeters don't require as much power. it just allows those channels to work better with the applications that we've envisioned. And then your sub channel is going to have more power than all the rest of the channels. So there's your answer.
We forgot to mention that this is also a great amplifier to power up the Street Series component systems. And on that sheet I referenced earlier, we do have crossover points recommended for the 7 and the 9 inch. 80 hertz for the 7 and the 9, 80 hertz high pass at 12 dB. So you could use these, which of course these are designed to handle considerably more power than the KS series. So for a much higher powered system, you can go ahead and use these guys. And again, these are perfect with that 65 watt per channel because these only need 50 watts RMS to play loud and clear. So that's another use for that smaller amp channel.
Marcus asks, are they bridgeable? Marcus, yes they are. Amp 1, Amp 2, and Amp 3, they're all bridgeable. And you can set it to be bridged using the mono left plus right in the control center when it's connected to the amplifier. Great question. What else do we have? Did we... hey, Overkill Customs, what up, Andy? Why does the KISS load not use 4 ohm loads since most cars use 4 ohm speakers? That is an awesome question. So a speaker is going to be a dynamic load, right? As it moves, the resistance is going to change across the voice coil. Resistor is just a static load and the resistance does not change. And the lower that you go in resistance, the larger the resistor has to be to burn off the power that you're running through it. So realistically, a 25 ohm resistor was like the lowest resistance that we wanted to go on this thing, because otherwise that starts to get bigger and bigger and eventually it'll be like the size of an amplifier. But we also found that 25 ohm static load works for just about every vehicle on the road. There's not a vehicle that I know of that does not work properly with a KISS load. So great question, Andy. What else do we have? Annihilation Industries. Are you guys coming back out with any 2-channel amplifiers?
We have some.
We've got a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, the KXMA 400.2.
We've got the 1200.2.
1200.2, and missing one.
I think we have a KMA 150.2 as well.
Yes, we do. So we have 3 2-channel amplifiers. Good question.
Paxton says, what crossover points would you recommend for QSS 6.5 component set with this setup? So Paxton, great question. The QS components actually play a little bit lower than our recommended crossover point in the spreadsheet. I think the factory crossover point on the QS component is 2800 hertz at a 18 dB per octave, if I recall correctly. But anyway, you can go, I would say, anywhere from like 2800 up on the tweeter, whatever sounds best to you, and then adjust your mid-range accordingly. But 2800 is the factory crossover point, so that's where I would start and adjust from there.
Wow, good job.
I just happen to know that because I mess with the QS speakers a lot. I like to use them in my personal cars, so great question. What else do we have? El Fuego says, what is clipping? So clipping is where you overdrive an audio signal, whether it's from your radio or your amplifier, and instead of having a nice smooth sine wave, it looks like you've cut off the top and bottom of that sine wave, and that's why we call it clipping, and it translates to heat in your speaker, which causes your speakers to blow. So clipping is not good for an audio system.
Clipping bad. Kyle, right? Clipping bad. Next question. I think we got time for 2 more.
Marcus, does Kicker plan on making head units for cars? What's up? I'll let you handle that one.
Hey, Joe Hobart, are you watching right now? The short answer is nope. The market for aftermarket head units, even in its heyday, it was huge, but very, very competitive. And that's not what we specialize in. We specialize in amplifiers, speakers, and subwoofers. Our marine head units are fantastic, and we put a lot of effort into those because it is much easier to put a marine source unit in a marine environment or side-by-side or custom cars as well, but we do not want to get into the OEM radio replacement. Not where we're good at. Good question. One more question, and then we'll move on to housekeeping. Jeremy, Hey, Jeremy again. So is it better to have separate speakers or okay to have the 3 in 1?
So, good question. I prefer a component set. I like doing all the tweaking and the tuning and messing with it, getting it to sound as good as I can. And I also like the fabrication aspect of finding new places for tweeters and 2 3/4 to go. But if you don't have the capability or the tools to do the fabrication or find new places for speakers, then a 3-way speaker or a 2-way speaker is just fine. The only difference really is like the point which the sound is coming from, essentially. So instead of having your tweeters up here and having that information sound like it's coming from above the dash at you, it might sound like it's coming from lower in the car since the tweeter is mounted with the speaker. But it's still a tweeter and it's still a mid-range with a crossover, so it's essentially like a component set but mounted in the same place. So it comes down to your application and what you're comfortable with installing.
Another consideration is higher frequencies are much more directional. So if your tweeter is down low on top of your mid-range, like in this coax, you're losing quite a bit of the high frequency information. So if you can take that tweeter off the coax and put it up here on axis, you get much more accurate, more natural sounding frequency response. So there's another benefit to it as well.
Brandon, could I run the sub channel to an L7 and amp 1 and amp 2 bridged to coil 1 and coil 2 of another L7 and then amp 3 to full range speakers?
Let me read that again.
That's a good question. I think in theory you could, because you can set your crossovers for amp 1 and amp 2 on the amplifier. And if you used a multimeter to match the output of amp 1 to the output of amp 2 exactly, then I don't see a reason why you couldn't do that.
The bass knob now.
The bass knob wouldn't control those, right? Good point, Aaron.
You use KICKER Q Plus as well.
But technically you could, although I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, that's a good brain scratcher right there.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've got some, more. Oh, go ahead, Ernie, you brought it up. Hey, Ashy, are all LX amps Class D or are they AB as well? Good question. They are all Class D. Now, in the old days, Class D full range was a bad word, or words. I had a Infinity DPA 275, which was one of the original full range Class D amplifiers, and it was a small footprint, 75 by 2, and it was brittle sounding, shall we say, because Class D technology was just not ready for hi-fi prime time. It was small, it was very efficient, you could put it anywhere, you could cover it up with your carpet underneath the seat of your car, but the sound quality was not there. Today, that's not true at all. These are amazing sounding amplifiers, and in 2 more shows, we're planning, hopefully, if Joe Hobart's available, we're planning to bring Joe Hobart in to talk more about the guts of the LX amplifiers and maybe even do some dyno stuff with it.
Yeah, because we know you guys love watching the amp dynos.
Tune back in and ask that question again, and Joe will go much deeper than I'm capable of.
So,
all right, so we got some housekeeping to do here.
Oh, did we mention, I don't know if we did ever say it or not, but these are shipping.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So
yes, they're
that's
shipping.
kind of some important information to share. But.
Now, they are out of stock at kicker.com,
right?
Because we've shipped them all out to our retail partners. But go to our retail partners and you'll find LX amplifiers.
If you guys want to get your hands on them, call around your local shops and see if those guys have gotten any in yet. I know Andy at Overkill has gotten quite a few of those amplifiers in. So ask your shops, see if they have them, and snap them up.
Technical Q&A. So we've already got some questions about LX amplifiers on the Q&A lines, thanks to Alphony. What?
I just like that he's called himself the Todd Father. That's awesome.
Okay, I think I'm going to pass out. That's funny. So here's the question Anthony gave us today. When running RCA outputs from one LX amp to the inputs of the next, is the signal affected by the tuning placed on the first amp?
That's a good question.
Great question.
So the signal's not going to be affected because it's just a signal pass-through. So if you only have one set of RCAs available, but you're trying to run like a 4-channel, let's say you didn't get the 5-channel, and you're trying to run a 4-channel and one of the mono amplifiers, you can go into the mono amp first, daisy chain out into the 4-channel, and now you have an uncorrected signal for your 4-channel amplifier, and you don't have to use a Y splitter. You just have to use another short pair of RCAs. So pretty handy feature.
The next question, I think you already answered this, but I'll bring it up again. If disconnected from the battery, will the LX amplifiers retain previously saved tuning?
Yeah, so these amplifiers have a non-volatile memory. So if you disconnect it from the battery, it does save your tune. So yeah, simple answer, but great question. Next up, I think we have some fail picks to share with you guys.
Woohoo! All right, Ernie, let's go to some fail picks. And I can't fully explain what's going on here, but I think they painted the speakers white.
It kind of looks like that. Yeah, that's odd. How far can you zoom in on those?
That's it. That's what we can do there. So yeah, they've been painted white. So yeah.
But also, I just noticed that is now the headrest for all of those people that sit in the back seat. So if you got a guy that likes to drive and slam on the brakes a lot, you're going to have some holes in some speakers.
Oh, look, yeah, there is a center right there.
He's got a center channel.
Look at that. Okay, nice. Okay, what we? Oh yeah, this Ernie. So yeah, guys, put in the chat here what's going on here. I think I know what's going on here, but I want to know if you guys know what's going on here.
It's a pretty stout-looking RCA cable.
So
I mean, they were really close.
It looks to me like this is the antenna wire plugged into the RCA. That's definitely not going to give you the reception you're looking for. This is an oldie but a goodie. This is just a tweeter array. Talk about doors for days. This is dash for days.
Yeah, Jeremy was joking about that with us, and he was like, I bet those are all time-aligned too. So
Yes, I don't think so.
Give me the best center image you've ever heard in your life.
But you know, as long as you're at 2 ohms at the amplifier, it's good to go.
Yeah, that's true. This one might take you guys a second.
Yeah.
But
here's a hint. So is the CD player supposed to be on the top or the bottom of the radio?
I turned it on, and I think the screen's upside down. How much would it cost to have somebody fix this for me?
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, so there's the fails. Now let's do the cool picks. So we've got some good cool picks, and I'm going to show you, first of all, check this out. I think Andy featured this on his Kicker Club. Why is it not? Okay, there it is. So check out this pickup. So, Jacob, what is that?
You know, I'm short. I think it's a. I'm not going to say because I'm going to look like an idiot.
I think it's a Ford.
70s Ford pickup. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Jeremy, for saving me.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's a Ford, guys.
Check
I almost said
this out.
Chevy. You almost got me.
ZRX amp modules. What's that module for, Jacob?
Is that... So I know, okay, so some of those modules were for bass controls. So you'd plug a module into it to add a bass knob to the amplifier, but you could also plug modules in to change your crossover points on the amplifier. So there was like a 60, 80 hertz, a 120 hertz module to change your low pass crossover on the amplifier. And there was like a bypass module too for testing it. And I mean, I've even got some of those modules in my closet, and I don't know why. I think I just like collect them.
You're a pack rat.
Yeah, dude, I collect old audio stuff. That's a problem. But anyway, so looks like
vintage L7s.
Yeah, vintage L7s.
And I think this gentleman recreated. I think he recreated
L5s.
the original Kicker box.
Yeah, thanks, Ernie.
Look at that. Oh, L5s?
I think so.
L5s?
I think that's what Ernie said.
So he's got tweeters on the top, mid-ranges, and then subwoofers.
Yeah.
This is a premium Kicker box.
Yeah, full range. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is nice. Very nice. Okay, now the next one. This one is a real treat because this is our very own Tim in the back. This is his pickup. And he just finished. This is the first LX amp install of which we are aware. So this is his pickup here at, I think this was Lone Star Throwdown. And so that's the exterior of this truck. Beautiful truck. He's won some awards with this thing. But he just upgraded the install. Check out that beautiful LX amplifier in there.
Oh yeah. So what's really super cool about this install is that he kind of backlit the subwoofer with some LEDs and like a plexi ring that went behind it. So I don't know if it shows it in any of these pictures, but it just looks absolutely killer in person. It looks like the subwoofer's floating in the enclosure with light behind it. And then you guys see he did kind of a reference to the Kicker chevron there in the center. And Tim does some great craftsmanship and everything that he does. It always, yeah, you guys can see the LEDs there. It just comes out looking killer every time, and the truck sounds really good too.
So, Jacob, what are these doing down here? What's that for?
So I think what Tim's doing with those is using some Comp RT 8s, or maybe those are 6 3/4, since I think he has a 10-inch sub there. But he's using those for mid-bass in his truck.
So that's beneath the seat.
Yep. So that was one of the things that he had been talking to me about, was when he revamped the system for the LX, he wanted to throw those subwoofers in and get some more mid-bass in it. And I walked by when he was demoing it to the guys the other day, and it sounded absolutely killer.
Smacking.
Yeah, it was smacking, yeah, all that mid-bass.
It's John Myers mid-bass.
Yeah, John special.
All right, so those are the cool picks of the week. So we have some events coming up we want to talk about. Kicker Arena Cross in Guthrie this weekend. If you're in the area and you want to go to Guthrie Kicker Arena Cross, it's indoors, so you're not going to freeze your patootie off. It is an awesome venue. It's a Lazy E. I always want to say Lazy J. Lazy E Arena.
No, that's me. It's the Lazy E Arena.
Lazy E. Great venue. Also, we've got a Drag Specialties Parts Unlimited trade show in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, this is a dealer-only show, so if you're a dealer, a Kicker dealer in the Kentucky area, go check out that event. It's a huge deal, and there's a lot of great vendors there that you can talk with. Also, January 31st through February 2nd, Jacob and I, Mr. Lazy J, we're going to be going to Las Vegas, where we're going to be doing Knowledge Fest. Again, it's a dealer-only trade show, so if you're in the business and you're going to Vegas, come by, see our booth, and come talk to us, because we're going to be doing 2 trainings. One training is going to be all things Kicker for 2025, and the second training is a deep dive, kind of what we did here for you tonight. And 2 Tuesdays ago, we're going to do that for our dealer base. So if you're in the area, check that out. Also, March 1st and 2nd, I know this is way out there, but put this in your calendar, write it down somewhere, put it on your monitor on a Post-it note. March 1st and 2nd, Mark Eldridge is doing his mobile soundstage engineering event in Tulsa. So this is a training class. If you want to go tweaky nerd level, 1000 PhD level, that's the training for you. So check that out, March 1st and 2nd, Mobile Soundstage Engineering in Tulsa with Mark Eldridge. So those are the events. Let's give away some stuff. Oh yeah, there it is. There's the flyer. Mark, I was bagging on your flyer earlier. It looks like you made that flyer in 1994, so it's time to update the flyer. But Ernie says because you sell out, you don't care, and you know, that's cool. But let's update the flyer. So that's the event, and let's give away some stuff. Colin, if you're listening, who is our third place winner tonight? Colin. Number 3, Matt D from Oklahoma. Matt D, you're the winner. Hey, if you're in the area and you want to come by and pick up your stuff, let us know, let Colin know, and we can arrange to give it to you in person, Matt D. Winner number 2, who went up number 2? Philip H from Oklahoma.
Again.
If you guys are roommates, there's something weird going on here. But Philip, same thing. If you want to come over here and pick it up yourself, let us know, and we'll be happy to give it to you hand in hand. And number 1 winner, who's number 1 tonight?
Juan R. from Maryland.
Maryland! If you want to drive up here, Juan R. from Maryland. No, just kidding. We'll ship it to you. But you're the first place winner. Oh, first place, in case you forgot, is the BF100. Second place is the TW2, and third place is the EB400. So those are the first, second, and third place. You also get a t-shirt, UnMasked t-shirt, of course. And lastly, you get some koozies for your adult beverage of your choice. So that is the end of the show. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I got one more thing here. I almost forgot. I actually have a special gift for my good friend, Jacob Lucky. Jacob?
What is this?
That is a gift for you.
Dude, okay.
Go ahead and open it.
I think I know what it is.
Show the guys, show the girls what I got for you.
Mason, I almost called you Mason. But Aaron got me.
Don't open it. Don't open it.
Here, I'll let you open it for me.
Take it home. Take it home and open it.
Dude.
Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Living Loud with Andy is going to be on later tonight.
If you guys catch me at Knowledge Fest, ask me about the mason jar. I'll explain everything.
And we'll be back on Tuesday, February 14th after Knowledge Fest. Yeah. And if you stop by the booth, we'll open this for you. Thank you, folks. It's been great. Good night.